What's
I don't know.
what's your ideal, like, perfect fairy tale wedding? Because you're not married yet, and so you're looking forward to this event.
Yeah.
Nothing like, I am earning my money back kind of thing. I want people to really celebrate my wedding. Like,
With
I don't.
lots of cash, right?
Well, if I'm not gonna have a big wedding, I wouldn't need a lots of cash.
Yeah. Yeah.
The cash will go to the wedding venue and
Yeah,
stuff,
of
right?
course, of course.
So I don't know, nothing like factory wedding.
Will
Then
you?
again, I'm not married, so I can.
But will you try to avoid the wedding hall syndrome, where it does seem
If
kind of
Possible, because I know
quickly.
that my parents are okay with it. So if my future husband's family is okay with that, I would go with that. I don't
Yeah.
really have a lot of fantasy about big, luxurious wedding.
And avoiding wedding halls or wedding palaces doesn't only mean like downsizing. You can actually do more flowery weddings too. Like
what's the alternative to?
I recently went to a concert hall, turned into a wedding hall for that day,
Wow.
and this guy
in Seoul here.
in Seoul, yeah, it's a concert hall in a hotel. It wasn't built as a wedding hall, so it doesn't even have a sign like so and so wedding hall outside,
Which
So
is better.
which is better. It's a hotel, it's a concert hall. All the amenities are really good. All the staff are there, very very like nice and friendly. So that was a good wedding that I attended, and I guess like I know someone who did a wedding ceremony in a resort, like half an hour away from Seoul.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah. So those things are becoming more and more common. So you can actually be as creative as you want, as long as your parents are okay with it.
Yeah, and of course there are people who still doing the traditional way of wedding,
Yeah.
like wedding ceremony. But I heard it's more expensive.
More expensive.
So what's the traditional way?
Like we wouldn't know, but
Yeah.
we have.
Like there's a traditional house, and you go there and you have.
You don't have a wedding dress like per
like-
se. You have hanbok,
humble.
Only humble.
only hanbok. The procedures are actually more detailed. Like you would have a live rooster in the middle, and all these like traditional ways of doing things, like Joseon Dynasty style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to a wedding like that once.
Oh.
So you know better than us.
Yeah, I've never
We-
been to one.
Yeah, it was the first wedding that Stephanie and I went to together.
Oh, okay.
A Canadian man married a Korean woman, so it was interracial wedding, and it was
Oh,
at.
this might be my friend. I have a friend who married to a Canadian guy.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, sorry.
The
we
world
say-
is
can we
not
say his
that
name?
small.
I don't know his name.
We'll talk about it after.
Okay.
That's your friend then. You don't know his name.
Not that close. Anyways,
But
sorry.
but I mean, long story short, it was all done similar to how you were explaining. They were both in hanbok.
Uh-huh.
They carried the man and the woman in separately in a Chosun style, like Korean, like historical
Oh, yeah,
Korean
right.
drama
Yeah, carriage.
carriage.
Yeah.
Yep.
Kama.
Kama.
Okay, and it was at Sungkyun Kwan University in Seoul,
Uh-huh.
Oh,
outside.
Right.
where there's very traditional looking like
Mm-hmm.
architecture, and it wasn't like the white dress and they stand
No,
together and then they walk down the aisle when they're finished. and
Yeah.
stuff
Do
like
still
that.
people give 축의금 to them?
Yeah, they
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
We did, and
Oh.
we got the ticket for
Yeah,
that.
yeah, the
so
same.
it's the same that part.
That part was the same, but the
Oh.
ceremony was different.
I see.
Interesting.
It was really nice.
Uh-huh.
So what happens after the wedding ceremony?
The-
You go to the honeymoon, right?
It really depends on your flight schedule.
Oh,
Like if you're
okay.
lucky, my wife and I were lucky to book flight tickets in a way that we would have 5 hours after the wedding. So we had enough time for my wife to go to the hairdressers to actually undo her hair, kind of wash her hair because it's so much on her face,
Yeah.
right? There's so much
Makeup and
makeup,
stuff.
so much hairspray. So we did that, and then we went to the airport like very comfortably, and then we went on a honeymoon. So that's what can happen, and what can also happen is your flight schedule doesn't allow you to do that. So you wait till the next day. So if you had a wedding ceremony near a hotel, you stay at the hotel, or you go. You don't want to go back to your separate houses after the wedding ceremony.
Like nothing happened.
Yeah, like nothing happened. So you actually find a way to spend the night
Oh.
together, and then go on the trip. So that's what happens.
That just reminded me of something that's different between Korea and the U.S. Usually at this point,
Yeah.
couples that are not married but that are going to get married live together.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
That's a very interesting point. That's a very good and important point because, like, I've heard people saying, how can you get married to somebody without even living with that person? But in Korea, if you say that,
Can
it's
you?
actually the
Look at you.
opposite.
Yeah.
How can you live with someone without getting married, without being married to that person.
Being married.
Which
But,
is
yeah.
an irony.
Yeah, what happens here is that what could happen here is that you already have your house and you're not living with your parents, then you might move in a little earlier than before the wedding, but you still know that you guys are getting married and you have the wedding date fixed and everything.
Yeah.
That can happen, but it's not like let's move in together and see where it goes. It's not something that's socially really well accepted.
It's like, for example, this is a common scenario. Like the boy's parents are okay with it, like them living together before the marriage, like 2 months before, 3 months before. The girl's parents are actually okay, like inside. Honestly, they're okay with it. They're gonna get married. They're gonna have children together. It's fine. But what they are worried about is what their parents might think about them letting the girl
Wow, that's so
live with them.
complicated.
So yeah,
Wow.
it's complicated. So that's why it
lot of
rarely
mind games.
happens. Yeah, it rarely happens. A lot of pressure, tension
Wow.
going on. So most young couples who live together, they just don't tell their parents, and
Right.
it's just lie.
Would they also possibly buy the house but not live in it
Yeah, that's
until after the
totally-
wedding day? Like
Totally common. Yeah,
that would be very unusual.
unusual
For us.
I see.
They
That's
buy the house and you immediately move in.
That's very inefficient, I know, but a lot of people do that. They just wait until they come back from the honeymoon.
Wow.
And is Jeju the most common place to go on a honeymoon?
Like
No, not anymore.
Not anymore.
20
Jeju?
years ago, maybe 30
Yeah.
years ago, maybe.
So
Koreans have more money.
Yeah.
They're going to the nicer places. Not that Jeju's not nice, but they're
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
the more tropical or the,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, the thing is, until 26 years ago, like 1988, Koreans were not allowed to travel overseas freely.
I was shocked too. I was talking to
Yeah,
Hyunwoo like
so it
5
was-
minutes ago. I'm like, what?
It was
Wow.
only 26 years ago that
Interesting.
individual citizens were allowed to freely travel overseas. It was because of the Seoul Olympic Games. So when I was in elementary school, I remember people not being able to travel unless you're a diplomat or you're going overseas to study or work. Like personal individual backpacking was unheard of. It's impossible. So my parents got married like over 30 something years ago. So for them, of course, the farthest they could go was Jeju Island. And of course they chose Jeju Island.
I
So-
mean, there are people who go to Jeju Island and it's a really nice place.
Yeah.
But a lot of couples I know usually go to like tropical islands.
Yeah, and
like,
that's also because their jobs usually don't allow them to travel for more than a week. And honeymoon is the only or
Chance.
perfect chance, opportunity or excuse to travel overseas for more than a week. It's a honeymoon, please let me go. And then the
And you
boss-
have all this money.
Yeah, of course. So
So Hawaii is very,
Hawaii is probably the most popular one.
Mhm.
Maybe Guam,
Guam.
Saipan, or sometimes the Maldives, or some people go to Paris.
Europe.
Yeah, or some resorts, like other resorts around Korea, in the Philippines, in Thailand. Yeah, places like that.
So usually honeymoon for how long? Like a week?
Maximum, actually.
Why?
Because their
They have a job.
Yeah, they come
their
back and
jobs
work.
Yeah.
would actually require them to
How
come
about
back.
in the States? Do people go on a honeymoon longer than that?
Some people do, but there's no minimum or maximum. I wouldn't say 7 days maximum. It's common to go for about 4 to 7 days or
Okay.
so.
Yeah,
But some people go longer.
Yeah.
Where do they usually go on a honeymoon?
Caribbean is popular.
Mm-hmm.
Like Dominican Republic or
Yeah.
Haiti,
Yeah.
Puerto Rico.
I'm starting to see a lot more people coming to Korea on their honeymoon. Like I meet people and then
Really?
they say, yeah, we're on a honeymoon. And of course, I'm usually surprised that they're here in Seoul, but because Seoul is like just like any city. But Jeju Island, I would totally understand. It's a beautiful place. I recommend it. So yeah, I have met some people who are here on honeymoon. Awesome.
I just think the internet's bringing people closer, so Korea is more of an option now, and people have more money, so they.
But the reason I am surprised is that for me, honeymoon is something where you can go relax.
Yeah.
But Seoul is not, quite the place you can.
Yeah, that's
I agree.
why I was
Yeah.
surprised as well.
Yeah. How about after 신혼여행?
Mhm.
Honeymoon is, by the way, 신혼여행.
Yeah.
And what happens? What's the difference between Korean marriage life and like your marriage life?
I have no idea. I don't know what Korean marriage life
I
is
have
like.
no idea what American
Okay, I
marriage is.
have a topic to talk about. 시댁 and 처갓댁.
Uh-huh.
시댁 is the groom's family,
Uh.
like the way girl, like the wife calls her husband's family is 시댁,
Yeah.
and the 처갓댁 is the husband calling wife's family.
Mm-hmm. So I guess it's similar. You just have one more pair of parents to kind of sometimes call and visit. But I guess it's just a little bit more here in Korea. You're expected to visit them like as an obligation on like Lunar New Year's Eve and also Chuseok, the Korean Harvest Festival. Other than that, I guess.
And you have to
it's
go to
similar.
the husband's parents' family first, correct?
Either first or only husband's
only.
family, because there's not enough time. Especially if you're going to a different city, like it takes forever, so you don't have enough time to do that. So you usually visit either before or after, like a week before, a week after.
It's not so strict where I'm from.
Yeah.
You visit both families equally.
Mm.
Doesn't matter if it's the wife or the husband.
Maybe you can take turns. Like this year, we went there first. Next year, but it's always the husbands. So a lot of parents say once your daughter gets married, you're like they're outsider.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
How is it? Like, is it uncomfortable to be with 처갓댁 or like for girls 시댁?
Mm. It depends on the family, I guess.
Yeah, but I hear a lot of girls, especially, they are not like they don't hate their 시댁 부모님,
Yeah.
like
But they're not
yeah,
comfortable.
in-laws, but they are not like really comfortable.
Yeah, no.
I've heard that too.
Yeah.
How
so,
about in the States?
It's so much different in this regard. If my wife gets along with my mother, it's
Good.
it's up to them to figure out if they get along or not. But not
Oh.
because there's pressure or there's tradition or there's, you've heard friends. It's not like that. Like for me, I really dig Stephanie's father. Like I like him a lot. So like I don't care what the tradition is, like I judge him once I meet him. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people do it that way.
Yeah, it's in Korea. On top of all the marriage thing, there's also this general basic 어른 손 위 사람 손 아래 사람 thing, like
So
higher
older,
social
yeah.
hierarchy, older people, younger people. So whatever they say, they're older, they must be right, they must be wiser. That's the thing. So that actually hinders the friendship from forming.
That's right.
So there's just too much social tension. So I guess the best thing to do is avoid contact. Like, too much contact. Like you can
Right.
get along really well, but not visit them every day. Like don't make your like. I love my mom, and I love it when my mom and my wife are together. But I don't want to make that happen like every week, every weekend, or something like that.
There is something to what you just said throughout all of society here.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
people would rather would sway towards the avoidance of contact
Yeah.
just in case there's some confusion or
Yeah,
some
yeah,
misunderstanding,
yeah.
not
Yeah.
because they're unfriendly.
Yeah.
And I suppose I could have viewed that sometimes as people are unfriendly here, but it's the
Maybe. Yeah.
Well,
They're not
of course,
invited,
of course, it depends on the people. It depends on the couple and parents. But it is kind of like a socially common like concept that 시댁 부모님, your in-laws, are not really comfortable
Yeah.
to be around.
I mean, it's not surprising to
Right.
hear somebody say,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm not so uncomfortable."
yes.
What about you? Now you have a boyfriend, correct?
Yes.
Have you met his parents?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So everything that we just talked about, you will experience everything step by step. So
Yeah,
don't worry
okay.
about it. You will enjoy the ride.
Okay. One last thing I want to talk about is 혼인신고.
Uh-huh.
Because I heard that in the States, the minute you say I do, you're married. Like legally married. Is it true?
I don't know. I don't know.
That's what I heard, but I could be wrong.
I'm not exactly sure. When you sign the document, I think is when you're legally married, but the I do is very important.
Mm-hmm.
That they're philosophically or
Interesting.
yeah.
How about in Korea?
Here in Korea,
Do you
like-
say I do?
Yeah,
Is
the wedding vow, wedding vow is there, but you just say yes.
네.
Like, 네. 신랑은 신부를 평생 사랑할 것을 맹세합니까? 네. And the girl says 네. Like the girls usually don't say like out loud, so the crowd cannot hear it. 네. So
Right.
it's usually the guy shouting 네. But even after the wedding ceremony happens, some couples, especially more and more so these days, they do not register them as a married couple. They just wait a little while. They do because the wedding ceremony actually has no effect on your marital status. Like
That's
whether you had that wedding ceremony or not, who cares? It was just for your family. It was a show. The legal status changes only when you go to your 구 office, your 동사무소 or 구청, and then sign that form. And you need at least one witness.
Oh.
And
Two.
Two. Okay. And two
Stephanie and I had two.
I see. Two witnesses. I get. Or in
It might be
my
one.
case, it was one.
Okay.
And if you don't have any witness to actually be your witness, you can just say your parents' name. It's fine. But that 혼인신고, wedding or marriage declaration, is all that matters. So you can have no wedding ceremony. You can do that, and you're legally married. You're guaranteed all the legal benefits and stuff. And also, I know a few people in person who have been married for more than 3 years. Like who had a wedding ceremony, they've been living together for 3 years, but they didn't file a declaration.
Any particular reason why?
I have no idea. But they
Wow.
just say, they always joke about it, but they just say just in case,
Just in case of
you
what?
don't. I don't know.
Well, I heard my father was kind of like complaining what's happening in this society
Yeah.
about like these days young couples don't sign the form just in case they might get divorced.
Yeah.
And they'll see how like people move in together in the States, but they actually get married at the wedding ceremony, and then they see what's happening. They might get divorced, and they don't want to have
Yeah.
that like record on their paper.
Yeah.
So my father was like, that's not marriage, but there are people like that.
Yeah.
But I know that like legally, if you live together for a long time as a couple, it's called 사실혼.
Yeah. 사실혼. So
it can be like recognized as
yeah.
legally.
I mean, only in like crime investigation,
Yeah.
stuff like that, it can be considered as a factor. Okay, they've been 사실혼 관계, like they've been like actually married, even though they are not like registered. But other than that, if you want a divorce, it's like simpler.
Yeah.
Like you just both
no
move out.
paperwork.
Here?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
if
I mean,
you are not registered.
Oh, if you're not right.
But if you are, then there's a whole issue of like the money, like what do you call it, compensation, and you have to split your assets and things like that. So some people,
Alimony and alimony and like
yeah.
Yeah. You guys know good vocabulary.
alimony.
So
Yeah.
the best case scenario is, of course, living happily ever after. But some people actually do prefer that. There's just, I guess, a minority of people doing that. So 혼인신고, it's a must. I think I did my 혼인신고 right after we came back from
혼인신고 is signing the paper.
the signing the paper right after coming back from the honeymoon. So I was totally happy about it.
So you were not married on your honeymoon.
No, I was not, because it was just a wedding ceremony. It's a show.
Oh.
And it's a trip. The actual marital status changes in that little gu office. Yeah.
I have a little question to you, Richard. So you are married here to your American wife. So it's not an international marriage. So you still married in Korea.
Did you go to the embassy or?
Yep.
Like, did you have to do a lot of paperwork?
Not a lot, but paperwork was really important to get it correctly done. The process for two American people getting married in Korea goes as follows. You fill out an application, and then you have to go to the U.S. Embassy by setting an appointment and going on your appointment date. And then at the embassy, they marry you.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not officially married until you go and get the document at the GU office in Korea. So you're married and you're not married at the U.S. Embassy, and then you take the paper after you pay the money. Yeah, and it's $50 to get the document from the U.S. Embassy that you take to the GU office in Korea around the corner, and then to get the actual marriage certificate that makes you officially married in Korea costs 20 cents.
Yes. Yeah, I remember
It was
that.
less than $1 to get married.
Yeah.
Which is unbelievable to me.
It's just
Which is part of the reason why we did it here.
Mm.
We believed in trying to make our life happy and less about the actual ceremony. Because I think so much in America goes into, especially for the women, but I don't want to put words into people's mouths. Everyone's different. But that day is the most special day in some people's lives. And so tens of thousands of dollars goes into this one day.
Yeah.
in different ways than you talked about the money that exchanges
yeah.
here, but also similarly.
Yeah, yeah.
And we didn't want that.
Uh-huh.
So that was part of the reason why we did it here.
I see.
And we saved money. I mean,
Very cool, very cool.
Well, that was very, very interesting.
Yeah. So it's probably going to be the longest Ask Hyojin video
Yeah.
ever. But then again, marriage is probably one of the most important things that can happen in a person's life. So we wanted to give the appropriate
Knowledge.
yeah, and
some very
weight.
rich information, though.
Yeah. So hope you enjoyed that. And
Yes.
Hyojin,
네?
you didn't do much in this video.
Well, I have nothing much to talk about. I don't know nothing. I learned a lot, actually.
We should actually put a comma between Ask and Hyojin.
Ask. Hyojin asks.
Yeah. Yeah, or Ask Hyojin.
Just for this one.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking to Hyunwoo about this before we filmed it, and I learned a lot about, like, wedding process and marriage and stuff, because I don't know.
She was like the whole
anything
time. Oh, really? Are you kidding me?
You know,
You
it
guys-
costs a lot of money.
Yeah, and you guys tired me out. For the first 20 or 30 minutes, I was sitting up like this, and now I'm like...
Yeah.
Anyways, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you have any questions, please leave us a comment, and please check out Richard and her wife Stephanie's channel, Hallyu Back. We're gonna put the link here, and we'll maybe see you next time, and maybe not. 안녕.
A quick guide to Hangul. So just in case you're not a Hangul master yet, you can refer to this guide to help you learn to read.